Welcome back into the Sean podcast. The big Ush over here. Got the cat daddy over there. Cat daddy. What's on your mind?
Alabama is who we thought they were.
They're more than who we thought they were.
Man, let's just take a second and look at the people that Alabama had lost last year. And this may not even be a complete list because this is just off my head, no research, but you're thinking lost Mac Jones.
Yep.
Lost Najee Harris.
Yep.
Lost Alex Leatherwood.
Yep.
Lost Devontae Smith.
Yep.
Lost Jalen Waddle.
That's true.
Oh, the center's name escapes. Landon Dickerson.
There's another one.
They lost him. That's just on offense.
Bunch on defense.
Did this Alabama team look different than last year? Like, if you're watching the mutes,
Well, I got some opinions.
would you really have been able to tell the difference between, hey, this is a game I watched last year, or this is a whole new team this year?
I got some opinions. We'll get to that.
Ooh, I can't wait.
But we're going to start with another team who, to risk making a good friend mad, they didn't look much different than last year. Actually, they kind of look worse. Hopefully they can get their butts together for my friend's sake. And the reason why they looked worse, the quarterback play was not the same.
No.
I'm talking about those Ohio State Buckeyes. This is Minnesota. Minnesota made this a close game. Imagine if Minnesota didn't overwork their running back.
Oh, that was nasty.
It was.
And if you guys didn't watch the game, the only reason that Minnesota was able to stay in the game so long is because of one person on Minnesota's offense, Mo Abraham, who was just picking up yards, plowing through. Fourth quarter, he's trying to break a tackle. There goes the Achilles.
Did not look good.
I had to watch it in slow motion, and it hurt every time I watched it. And I kept watching it because you can see the exact moment that it pops. And you're thinking, that was after, 30 plus carries? He was on pace for like 40 carries in that game. That's the only reason that Minnesota was in this game, is because of his running ability.
He got injured.
Because they overworked him. Game one, they just fed him the ball. And it's very unfortunate. I hope there's a quick speed recovery that's smooth, because if he opts for the draft, I think he may have one more year of eligibility. If not, he can apply for a redshirt medical.
He needs to opt. I'm sorry.
If he goes to the draft, I mean, he's not going to be drafted high first rounds, right? He's not going to be like Todd Gurley with an injury who gets drafted really high. But some team is going to get great value out of him if they can get him day
and he'll
2.
Be able to prove himself.
Even if he gets to day 3. Yeah, there's a lot to like on the other side of the ball with Ohio State.
Moving on. A game that kind of hurt me, but I expected. I didn't expect what I saw. So, my esteemed colleague over here wanted to poo-poo on Virginia Tech. I knew they were a better team than what they had been. I know how Virginia Tech goes, and I know how North Carolina plays them. But oh my God, was that offensive? Like, was Virginia Tech's defensive line just that much better, or did the North Carolina offensive line forget how to play? And here's the thing: it's not. I don't blame. I mean, Sam Howell takes some of the blame, but you cannot judge Sam Howell on that game. The offensive line, he was getting his butt kicked.
It was week 1 for North Carolina, week 2 overall for college football, but don't overreact, right? Sam
Right.
Howell had a subpar game.
But why
Could
did he
he,
have a subpar game?
I mean, it's offensive line. For me, though, it goes to the lack of weapons. I just don't think, and I think why North Carolina had one of their wide receivers out for the game with injury. I think he was out for like the first couple of games. What's his name? Bo Corrales.
Yeah.
He, and I think the absence of him being arguably one of their better playmakers, I think that's affecting Sam Howell because last year, I've said it before, last year he had Javonte Williams, Michael Carter, Diami Brown, Daz Newsome. He had weapons all around him that were able to help him. It didn't seem like his weapons
Now,
in this game were doing him any favors.
the only thing I'll agree with you on, but at the same time, I go back to the offensive line. Maybe those running backs were better than we even knew because there were no running game, no running lanes opening up. The running game was non-existent. So we'll see. We'll see going forward. They got Cupcake this week. We'll see how they perform. Speaking of a team that turned a team into a cupcake, we are at that aforementioned Alabama versus Miami game. And you asked a question earlier. Did this Alabama team look different? Yes, they did. Because they have a quarterback in this game that defied reality. I'm not saying physics or anything like that. This dude, this is Doctor Strange on the football field. There was, I mean, don't take this. Miami's still a really good team. Miami's pass rush was getting there. Alabama's offensive line did not play as well as you would think. Bryce Young was teleporting up around the pocket. He was doing Russell Wilson stuff inside the pocket. I didn't understand what I was seeing from a first time starter.
Yep, first game for a starter. He looked impressive. He looked better than C.J. Stroud did for Ohio State. I don't think there's any debate on that. I mean, just removing all other factors, right? Removing all the talent around them and looking at themselves, I thought that Bryce Young did a much better job with decision making and reducing what could have been turnover-worthy plays, putting himself in a bad position, putting the team in a bad position. I thought Bryce Young played so much better. And I know we're not ready to talk about Heisman yet in our,
He's my
our
front
ranking,
runner.
but you're thinking with this game, he moved himself up the list because anybody else who was higher on that list, and we may talk about a couple of these guys a little bit later on, you think
We
it's
will.
Spencer Rattler, Sam Howell, DJ, whose name I'm not even going to try to pronounce, from Clemson. You're thinking they did adequate at best. They didn't do any
Well,
favor for themselves. Bryce Young
we're gonna talk about some of that a little bit later.
shot out of a cannon. He did so well. So
Yep.
yeah, Bryce Young
And
did so much
and,
better.
and shout out to my guy, John Mechie. You know, I'm just saying, Sean. Just saying. Just saying. All right.
Some
Next
shades
up,
of Devontae Smith. Okay.
Shades. You better put some respect on this name. All right. Now moving on to a game that was closer than we thought it was going to be. That aforementioned Spencer Rattler and his Oklahoma Sooners almost had a big scare. Came a yard short of getting a first down for Tulane and almost like continuing on to try to get that win.
Man, it's a good thing that this is the first game of the season for them.
Yes.
If there's any time they're going to shake off the rust before you get into your conference schedule, you got to do it now. But escaping Tulane with a 5-point victory when it should have been a blowout. The game should have been played in Tulane, so you should have had no home field advantage. But due to Hurricane Ida, this game got moved to Oklahoma. You painted the field Tulane colors, which was great. That was a great move. But you didn't have to
What?
spot him 35 points, right? You didn't have to give him so much. You're not doing them any favors right there. For me, Spencer Rattler has not yet taken that step forward, because when he was out there, he showed that he was making plays that could have been considered very undisciplined. He threw one highlight that I can't get out of my mind is when he threw the interception through triple coverage because he was trying to force it. And I'm thinking, why? You have too much confidence in your arm, too much confidence in your ability, and you're just throwing the ball there because you think you can get it. And it ended up being a turnover. Now, fortunately for them, Tulane fell 1 yard short of picking up that first down. Who knows what that game would have looked like?
Now, all right, so going back to the comparison, because we have to, because it's the comparison right now. I actually believe Spencer Rattler, even though his numbers were better, had a worse game than Sam Howell. Spencer Rattler's offensive line protected him. He has better weapons than Sam Howell. He should have had a better game. I'm not sure what happened here.
I think Sam Howell played better, removing like the factors of stats, like the progression, reads, were they thrown to the right place at the right time,
and then you look at the level of competition that they were playing.
Oklahoma should have won this 13, not 40-35.
Now, my guy Nick Bonito showed up when he had to, so there's that. All right, moving on to the next game. It was supposed to be the game of the week, and I mean, if you like defense, it was the game of the week. It's Georgia beating Clemson. And let me start here. We were just talking about Bryce Young minimizing certain plays. Well, Bryce Young also did some other thing that DJ did not. The Georgia's defense played really well. Don't let me take away from the Georgia's defense. But there were avenues for DJ to cut and run and get a positive play for his team. Instead, he stood there, waited, the alarm clock did not go off, and he took sacks. He took hits. He needed to know when to run and when to stick and stay. And he did not. And that's something he's going to need to learn if he's going to be a top-tier prospect.
Georgia's defense played lights out.
They did. I'm not taking anything from Georgia's defense.
They put the Clemson's offensive line on blast. They absolutely should. They did DJ no favors, because it looked like Georgia was just in the backfield the entire game. I mean, they might as well have just started the snap on the other side of the line of scrimmage. That's how bad it was. It just seemed like Georgia was back there. Georgia was back there. Georgia was back there. Offensive line's not helping. Right? Also, Clemson came in as the 2 or 3 ranked team in the country to open the season.
Yep.
Wow. You're gonna have
number 3.
If that's the way that the offensive line is gonna play,
they're still number 5 right now.
This was a really big game for me. I know it's still early in the season, but it's a really big game for those for the playoffs.
Now, to be fair,
like 10, 12 weeks later.
Now, to be fair, Clemson's defense did play very well. And my guy, Andrew Booth Jr., showed a lot of promise.
There were positives, but when it comes playoff time and the voting for playoffs,
true.
You look back at this game like, all right, well, what's Georgia's signature victory? Georgia's signature victory could be holding Clemson to 3 points.
True. Now, moving on, I'm just going to mention 2 different games. We're not going to get into them. But Iowa State, number 7 team, that I think they dropped from there recently, had some issues with Northern Iowa. I know Northern Iowa's a better team than we give them credit for, but that shouldn't happen. Only scored 16 points on Northern Iowa. And then in another regard, Oregon had some issues with Fresno State. Only won by 7 points. What's going on here?
Oh, how different would that have looked if Kayvon Thibodeau played the entire game?
I don't know if it would.
I
But
think so.
moving on to a game that's a lot more interesting, especially for myself. We got Penn State versus Wisconsin.
That was such a good game.
I don't even know what happened here. What did we do here?
All I know is my guy, Juan Brisker, ended up with the interception at the end of the game to seal the victory for Penn State.
I'm pretty sure we both were pretty decently high on this guy. But, I mean, that quarterback for Wisconsin, you need to learn to hold on to the ball, boy. Oof.
No, that is not the start of the season that Wisconsin wanted to see.
All right, now we're going to move on to what I think was the most fun game of the week, personally. And that's LSU versus UCLA. There's a lot of fun stuff going on in this one. And what happened?
Chip Kelly.
They ain't back. That was just the LSU effect. LSU was ranked too high. Oh, did you see what happened? What the quarterback for LSU did? Did you see that nonsense?
No, what happened?
Okay. So I think they were in the red zone too. It's third down. The QB for LSU. He hikes the ball, comes back. He realizes the pass rush is coming. He turns around, starts running the other direction, realizes what's going on, and says, "Oh crap!" Panics. No look passes behind the back like it's basketball.
Oh yeah, I did see that. I saw that, and I'm thinking, man, if Patrick Mahomes did that, the world would be on fire. You know, because he would probably find a way to complete it. This guy, not so much.
I saw it happen live, and I was like, "What is going on?" I sent y'all a message like, "Did you guys see this?" I've never seen that happen before. Have you ever seen anything like that? A quarterback just forget he's playing what sport he's playing.
Wasn't there a fumble and he was trying to chase after the corner? I'd have to go back and watch it again.
Doesn't matter. You do not look behind the back past the football.
It would have been even better had that turned into a completion. That would have been fantastic.
But LSU took it. LSU ran all over LSU. I mean, UCLA took it. They ran all over LSU. Chip Kelly's not back. Give me a couple games before we do this. Okay?
Okay.
All right, moving on to the one of the surprise games. Iowa beat the brakes off Indiana. Woo! Woo-hoo!
Or is it Dania? Did you hear about that? How one of the players, it was one player in Indiana who they misspelled the team Indiana on his jersey, so he's out there playing in a jersey where Indiana is spelled incorrectly, and
who did that?
almost as embarrassing as watching Indiana play.
Onward to, speaking of embarrassing, Washington, what happened?
I don't know what happened to Washington.
Well, what happened, Washington?
Mm-mm.
Montana ain't supposed to beat you?
Moving on to some positive stuff. Did you see Cincinnati? Desmond Ritter, Cincinnati, that looked good. I mean, they were playing Miami, Ohio. They're playing a MAC team.
But they did what they were supposed to do.
Yes, that's exactly it. They did what they were supposed to do.
Speaking of another game, which could have ended differently, how about that Notre Dame Florida State game? Which was not... it was entertaining. It's my second most entertaining game. And it had the feel-good moment of week one. Maybe the whole month. I don't know if you can top it.
Are you talking about the part where Brian Kelly said after the game that his players should be executed in a play on words or quote? No? No. I'm talking about Mackenzie Milton. Yes.
Mackenzie Milton stepping in the game. Not only just stepping in the game, because he was thought to never play football again.
He suffered a nasty leg injury a couple years back with was it UCF?
Yeah, UCF. He came in and he led them to a touchdown. It was just there's something to feel good about that this kid got to live his dream again. When people told him it was like almost never, it was almost like a foregone never conclusion for him to ever play football again, and he fought hard and he made it back.
I mean, it's comparable to Alex Smith suffering the nasty leg injury. There's the potential that you may never play football again.
It just, I don't know, like Alex Smith made me feel good, but this made me feel better because this is a kid. Alex Smith had a pretty darn great career. This is a kid. All right. But, so that's, majority of the games that we're covering there. Another person I want to just throw out there is, certain quarterbacks that have their stock up. And Matt Corral and Carson Strong.
Yeah, buddy.
Had some steps forward, so we'll see how that goes. Now, our spotlight, our showcase players. We have some new segments. So after doing the recap, we're going to do a showcase player from the last week that we want to showcase this week because of their performance. My one is Bryce Young. When you do magician stuff on the field, you gonna get showcased. And I mean, this guy came out there and did not look like it was his first start. He looked better playing against a legit team than some of other players who are more highly touted playing against teams that were not nearly as good as Miami are. Who's your showcase player, Sean?
Showcase player. It should be no surprise, right? As you say, I gotta go with the low-hanging fruits.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong at all, but I'm going with my number one guy, your number one guy too. And we did our big board session a couple weeks back, or last week. You guys probably watched it. If you haven't, go back. If not, I'm spoiling it right now. But on our big board of 2022 draft eligible players, I had, Sean, Kyle Hamilton listed as number one. And it's funny. And it's funny because all the big boards of, the NFL talent evaluators, the experts, right? They may have had Kyle Hamilton as maybe in the top 5 of defensive prospects for the draft, because it's really good defensive talent in this draft. And they had him as number 4, and now they're like, oh, Kyle Hamilton needs to be number 1. And I'm like, well, I'm glad you guys caught up to us. You have many more resources than we have, and we're seeing this guy is clearly a number 1 talent. So I'm glad the rest of the world is catching up to us. But what stands out for me, not just the showcase that he put on, but the highlight, the cherry on top of everything.
That big play?
Is when he gets the interception, but how he gets the interception, he starts on the left side of the field. quarterback drops back, and the quarterback's thrown to the right sideline. Now, Kyle Hamilton's on the other side of the left hash mark. Now, if you don't know the difference between college and football, the college hash marks are wider and further apart.
No. Sean, you forget. He's in the box.
In the box, all on the left side of the field. He sees what the quarterback is going to do. He sees the quarterback is going to throw the ball to the right sideline. What does he do? He just starts taking off toward the sideline.
How many yards downfield?
How many yards laterally did he go?
Well, I mean, because it went from the box like 30 yards downfield across the field.
Down and across. It's amazing. You're thinking the 6'4", 220 guy has got the speed. Not only the physical speed to run across the field, but the intelligence and the processing speed in his mind to see, I know exactly what this quarterback's going to do. I see he's going to throw the ball to the sideline. I have 3 to 4 seconds to get over there. Let me start running. Takes off outside the field and ends up just snatching it right in front of the wide receiver. If Kyle Hamilton had not been there, that would have been a big reception. But Kyle Hamilton, with the intelligence, with the speed, with the playmaking ability, the number one guy on our big board, ran 3/4 of the way across the field to rob that pass. It was, if you don't appreciate not just the physical talent, but the mental talent that's involved in that too. Because how many people would not give up on the play, but how many people are going to think, oh man, the ball,
I can't get that.
He's going to throw, I'm not going to be able to get there in time. How many
Try
people
to get the tackle? I'm hoping to get the tackle.
Yeah, how many of these guys would be lesser players and think, you know what, I can't get there in time, I'm not going to run quite as hard to get to the other side of the field. He showed it all.
I just want to know what that receiver was thinking. Was he spooked? Like what? What just happened?
And I'm glad he had that play, because if that's the play that gets him notice, if that's the play, right, that gets him the attention that he deserves, fantastic. You know, it really stinks if you're a team that was hoping he would fall in the draft because of the position.
Not no more.
Man, he showed that talent. That play alone just made him money.
Now, we're going to move on for a showcase for next week for basically preview. I'm just throwing words out there. I don't know what I'm saying. All right, so I'm going to be honest with you. This next week, not a great slate. Not some awesome matchups. You're going to see some players show out and show what they can do, because they're going to be playing some teams that aren't going to be so up to par. So, I mean, be on upset alert. Also, just want to state, Florida, before we get into things, you have a QB problem. Just want to say that. But we're going to go to our first one. Sean. Kansas, who won their first game. What? Kansas won a football game? Versus Coastal Carolina, who's ranked 17.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't you mean the number 17 ranked Coastal Carolina?
How do you think this one's going to work out?
Chanticleers are going to walk away with the victory.
Ooh, he looked that up.
I practiced pronouncing that so I make a fool of myself. But the Chanticleers are going to walk away with this victory. You see what my guy Isaiah Likely did last week? Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
Hurdled a guy.
Yes,
Hurdled
I
him.
did.
I love seeing my tight end turtle guys.
All right, next up, we've got the number 21 ranked Utah versus BYU. Battle for the state. What's happening?
Man, those are my neighbors, right? They're in Utah.
What do they actually call this game? They call this game something. I don't know what it is.
Battle of Utah sounds good to me.
Let's get your opinion while someone finds out.
I, I have a feeling that BYU is going to get an upset.
I think the actual name they call it's better.
What is it?
The Holy War.
If I remember correctly, I think Utah has won 7+ straight years of this series. And I know that BYU just lost some talent, but I smell an upset. I do.
Tyler Algier gonna go off.
Tyler Algier. Yeah.
Both are undefeated currently.
What?
All right. So I'm just gonna bring this one up for fun. USC versus Stanford. Only reason why I bring it up is Stanford seems to always have USC's number.
The Cardinal. Yes, I think they're going to make it closer than it should be, but I think USC is going to get this victory.
I agree. It's going to be interesting, though. All right, let's see. What's the next game I want to go with? All right. So I'm going with our second big game of our first, I guess, for what we're talking about, but it's the second game in terms of big games. We have Iowa State versus Iowa. I'm going to go here. Iowa State's going to have to come up. I know Northern Iowa is better than what people think, but Iowa just beat the brakes off of Indiana. So Iowa State's going to have to come hard with it.
I agree there. I mean, Iowa State has a chance to win the Big 12, and that could put them, assuming all the other dominoes and cards fall, in the right places, that could put Iowa State in the playoffs.
Right.
So this is going to be a big victory. I think Iowa State is going to win. Iowa, though, it's going to be a close game.
We'll see how it goes. Next is the big game of the week. That's probably going to be less big than we like it. But
Yeah.
then, it's still going to be a showcase game. It's still going to be a monster. We got Oregon traveling all the way to the Horseshoe to play Ohio State Buckeyes. I'm just saying, Ohio State better be practicing real nicely here. I mean, Oregon itself didn't look too good again against Fresno State.
They did.
I got Ohio State because I just think they're more talented, but this one could be closer than Ohio State wants it to be.
As much as I love the Ducks, right? Go Ducks, go. I'm thinking Ohio State's going to get this victory. CJ Stroud, that Ohio State offense began playing so much better in the second half. So maybe it's just like the nerves
Not
even rust, but it's just getting those jitters out because CJ Stroud looked like a completely different player when the second half came around.
Well, you realize he's got playmakers.
Right? Oh, look, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson. Yeah, Jeremy Ruckert, we'll forget about you. But, right, he realized he had playmakers out there. Nothing against Jeremy Ruckert, that's just a joke from our previous pod.
But Ruckert still got a reception?
A reception.
Hey, it was an important one.
It was. Come on, Ryan Day. But I think Ohio State's going to win, whether Oregon has Kayvon Thibodeau or not. If they don't have Thibodeau, I think it's going to be along the lines of a blowout. It shouldn't be close.
But you never know.
It'll be closer. I was really excited before the season began. I was really excited to see the matchup between Kayvon Thibodeau and Thayer Munford.
Even though Thibodeau wouldn't be really going against Mumford, because Ohio State moved him inside. All right, anyways, moving on to our final segment of this one. This is going to be our Spotlight Player of the Week. This is the player that we are looking to see for the next week to see if they step up. My one is Bryce Hall for the Iowa State Cyclone. He's going to have to step up. You need to see more of him because this Iowa defense, they looked pretty good last week. So I mean, Brees is going to have to dig deep and make some plays for those Cyclones.
Yes, he will. And speaking of digging deep and needing to make plays for his team, my guy this week is going to be Derek Stingley Jr.
Had some tackling issues.
My number one cornerback, one of my blue chip defensive prospects.
You know who didn't have tackling issues?
Who's that?
Andrew Booth Jr.
Man, Derek Stingley Jr. is making me look bad. That was not the best way to start the year.
Didn't he get a pick though?
Well, if he did, it was overshadowed. Let's be serious, it was overshadowed. Lack thereof. Yeah. There was some left to be desired. I think he makes up for it this week. You have LSU going against McNeese State. Ed Orgeron, the LSU head coach, his son actually quarterbacks for McNeese State, so that's going to be a nice matchup to see. And I'm looking for Derek Stingley Jr. to rebound, to put on that display of the skills and talents and ability that's going to make him a high first-round pick. And if you need a cupcake team to do that against, here you go. Get some momentum going your way.
Well, I mean, let's see it rocking. Because he's got some tough matches coming up.
He plays in the SEC. I mean, he's handled it for the first 2 years. Maybe it's just that first game back. Maybe it's a full live crowd, the stadium being full. I don't know. But again, it was just week 2. Far too early to say anybody made or broke themselves as far as draft potential.
Let's give it some time.
Right, it's a long season. Everybody is entitled to have a bad game.
Right.
But don't make it 2 in a row.
Well, I mean, show up. Show up when you need to show up. And don't let guys who you shouldn't be clowning on you clown on you. Which means when a guy who is supposed to be lesser in talent, you got a chance to tackle them, don't let him push you out of bounds and keep running. Anyways, that's all we wrote for this week. Sean, words of wisdom.
Wear a helmet.
Oh. Well, I mean, that usually helps.
Yeah.
Mine, I do not suggest putting your clothes on in the dark. I mean, it is better if you can see. Just saying.